Hi, my name is Mar Heshenson. I'm the founder and managing director at Pear VC, and I'm a lecturer at the Management, Science, and Engineering department at Stanford University. I discovered I like the investment industry a little bit by accident. I actually came here to the US in 1995. I had finished my bachelor's at ICAI and in Spain, and I came here to do my PhD in electrical engineering at Stanford. So that was the first part of my career as an academic. I thought I would become a professor, and at the last minute I got into startups. So I started a company called Barcelona Design, and then I started another company called Sabio Labs. And after that, we decided to start Pear VC, which is where I am now. And Pear VC is an early stage venture fund. We back companies really early. And I started Pear with the hope to build a firm that would actually cater to the Mar of the year 2000 when I started my first company. I think my training as a PhD in electrical engineering has come really helpful in venture. As PhDs, we're trained to read a lot of information. So when you're doing venture, you're constantly evaluating new ideas. So you have to come up to speed in industries that you don't know anything about. And that typically requires reading a lot, asking people, and coming up with your own conclusions before you make the investment. So I feel like I was very fortunate to have that education. I think being a founder before being an investor is so important. First, you actually are an empathetic investor. And I feel like founders have such a tough time when they start a company. It's so hard to start something from zero and turn it into something that makes money. And when you have somebody by your side that has been in the same position, they truly understand how hard it is. Now that I'm an investor, I've seen maybe 200 companies. It's very hard. It would have been really hard to found 200 companies, but I have a perspective that I can take to an entrepreneur. So I sometimes say that investing, it's like if you like comedies, you probably know what the 101 is like. And it's the same with investing. I've been teaching at Stanford for 20 years. I'm very lucky. The last 9 years, I've been teaching an entrepreneurship class. Every year, there's 8 teams of 4 or 5 students that work on various projects. This 10 weeks that I spend working with the students remind me of how important customer discovery is and how much you can get done with nothing. So I take that back to our founders. Aside from that, I spend a lot of time talking to PhDs, and as you know, we've been, obviously over the last 3 years, big advances on artificial intelligence. I think we're at the beginning of a true transformation of many industries. So the applications on biotech, how new drugs are being developed, on healthcare, robotics. It's going to change practically everything we do. So I feel in a very fortunate position to be, here so close to what's coming out. I'm very proud of my education in Spain as an undergrad. I feel like I had this, very solid foundation. When you come to Stanford, the first year, you're supposed to take this super difficult test to get accepted into the PhD program, and very thankful to ICAI for the education. I think us Spanish people are generally very gregarious and very people. And in our business, it's not enough just to have high IQ. I think EQ is as important as the IQ. How you treat people, how you hire people, how you talk to customers. And I think having that Spanish culture behind me has really, it made me a better founder, a better CEO, a better boss, etc. So yeah, very happy to have that background. I came to the US 30 years ago, which is a very long time in tech. The Spanish startup ecosystem at the time did not exist. So I think when I told my parents I was going to join a startup, they had to look it up in the dictionary because they had never heard that word. And the distance between the Spanish innovation ecosystem and the US ecosystem have become closer and closer. Having said that, I would say that still the Silicon Valley is, decades away, not just from Spain, but in general from other places in the US. And part of it that we have in here is the culture. I mean, we're surrounded by people that are in tech and in the startup world. The second thing we have here is resources. We have, first, a lot of venture money is here. The majority of the dollars in venture capital are invested here. And second, we are so rich in terms of the people that are here. So we have all these very successful multiple time founders that can serve as mentors, as angels, etc. I've seen a lot of companies here in the US that have their R&D in Spain. It's a really great way to get access to super good talent at a reasonable price. I've also seen founders in Spain that start the company there, they have R&D there, maybe they've licensed some technology, and then they come here to actually do their go-to-market. Sales and marketing teams are here. I think that's a model that can work really, really well. It's very, it brings the best of both worlds. I think the most important is for the founder to have a vision of wanting to build a global company. Venture capital has changed a lot in the last 30 years. It was a very boutique industry, and now it's a much larger industry. Part of it is because there's a lot more companies. There are two changes. One is that there is a really, really wider top of funnel. There's a lot more companies that are being created. The second change is that with AI is actually you need less money to actually get somewhere with a company. This perhaps means that a seed investment fund will be doing higher volume at lower quantities of dollars. I predict that also there'll be more investors in venture. So I think that's good for everybody, that it democratizes access to startups and more people are going to become investors. I have two personal goals. One is actually make sure that Pear becomes the best seed fund that ever existed. And I think we've done a really good job. And that means continuing to grow the people that we have at Pear, turn them into great investors, and invest in the next great companies. I think building a legacy firm is a labor of love, and it takes time. The second is, I've spent a lot of my time teaching, and I want to retire into teaching and hopefully bring all the learnings that I've done from building so much entrepreneurship curriculum and encouraging so many students to take that path into other places. One of the things that is next for Pear is expanding. Our partner Pepe has been in Spain for the last couple of years, and we've began to do some investments there. I think there's a massive opportunity for somebody to come with all the learnings of the American way to do things and take them into Europe. So, we're really excited about growing our presence there and building a team around Pepe in Spain and hopefully back the next generation of great Spanish entrepreneurs. Well, I've been very fortunate to be a woman in a couple of industries that are highly dominated by men. First, as a founder, I was in the semiconductor industry. When I graduated from Stanford, I think there were about 80 people getting their PhD, and there were 2 women. And as an investor, I'm in an industry where only 2% of the capital is in the hands of women. So for the last maybe decade, I've spent a lot of my personal time trying to encourage women to both become founders and investors. We run this program called the Female Founder Circle. We've had about 240 women through it. The women are engineers, and they have some interest in startups. And for investors, I started this conference called the Equity Summit, where we're trying to put more money in the hands of women investors. So in order to do that, we bring 80 women investors and about 60 LPs. And I think the world is changing. It could change faster, but with things like this, we can really make a difference.